Hawley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thanks to the witnesses for being here. Mr. Kelly, if I could just come back to you and return to an issue that Senator Paul asked you about. Earlier today, my staff was notified, and I know Senator Paul's was too, that the latest tranche of small business administrative data, SBA data, suggested that at least 2 Planned Parenthood affiliates received second draw loans from the PPP. Senator Paul asked you about this. I just wanted to be clear about your responses. Is that accurate to your knowledge? I mean, have Planned Parenthood affiliates received second draw loans through this program?
So thank you for clarifying. To my knowledge, I'm not aware of the 2 loans that you're referencing. So in my response to Senator Paul, I was pointing out that there are over 8 million loans currently in the portfolio. So as of this moment, I'm not aware of the 2 instances, but I'm happy to talk offline with your staff and members of the committee about those. And what I did say is that the other direct question was, has there been any changes to the program? And there have not.
Will if this is in fact correct, if the data that we've received based on the SBA's disclosures is correct, will the SBA ask these affiliates to return the money?
If any borrower, including these 2 instances, is ineligible, there is a process that the agency goes through to deal with improper payments. And so I'm not totally read into that entire process, but we take it seriously, and we'll follow up with the committee to let them know what the agency's normal course is historically for handling any improper payments.
Thank you for that. You know, I just for those who are keeping track at home here, I mean, what has happened is at least 38 Planned Parenthood affiliates have received more than, it looks like, $80 million through the Paycheck Protection Program. This appears to be in pretty direct conflict with the affiliation rules that are written into the statute. But what's really frustrating is the larger background here is that in the original CARES Act language, there was language that would have unequivocally prevented Planned Parenthood from getting these funds, and it was negotiated away. It was given away in favor of this affiliation language, which also prevents Planned Parenthood from getting funds, let's be clear, but it gives a lot more wiggle room to the agency, a lot more wiggle room. And it was negotiated, that original language that the pro-life advocates fought so hard for was negotiated away by Republican leaders. And so here we are, where we have, lo and behold, 38 Planned Parenthood affiliates get money. Now more are getting second draw. And by the way, this is before the latest December relief bill even went into effect, according to the data that we got today. So it's just, you know, for those who wonder on the conservative side of things, those who wonder why voters tend to be cynical about politicians who promise them that they're going to fight for pro-life causes and then end up in situations like this. This is why. You know, at the time, I was repeatedly told by Republican leaders that the change to the affiliation language would absolutely not result in taxpayer money flowing to Planned Parenthood. And that was wrong. It's happened 40 times or more now. And I don't think a penny of it has been returned. It was absolutely wrong. So, you know, here we are once again. All I have to say is I cannot blame pro-life voters for being upset and being cynical about this. And Mr. Kelly, this has, you know, you just got there, as you say, so it is what it is. But I will hold you to it in terms of following up with me and then also enforcing the terms of the laws that are written. Mr. Ware, I want to turn to you, if I could, in just my brief time remaining, and talk about the EIDL program. This is a program that I think is important, and it has caused, though, a lot of frustration for my constituents back at home who have faced a lot of obstacles dating back, of course, to last spring in getting access to this program. And what's really frustrating is to see reports from the OIG that suggest that the program has a lot of abuse and a lot of fraud and dollars being paid out to people who shouldn't get it when deserving and qualifying small businesses can't access the program. So can you just give me a high-level overview of the prevalence of fraud in this program, in the EIDL program?
Thank you for your question, Senator. Well, from early on, and you saw when we put out the alert on EIDL, we started getting quite a bit of calls from the banks. We had gotten over 5,000, and then we started to get really inundated in our hotline with constant calls about the fact that it's obvious their identity had been stolen because they've never taken out a loan with SBA, and they're showing up that they got these they got these loans, economic injury disaster loans, on their credit report, or they were receiving correspondence from the agency saying that your loan payment is deferred until X date. And that's when we really started to get the calls. And we started to dig in as to what was really going on. We started to dig in like, hey, we need to set up, your controls are not in place that need to be in place. There are just some simple follow-up questions that we think could be asked on the front end, but folks have to be in place to address these, the follow-ups. There may be reasons why there were people with duplicate IP addresses or duplicate email addresses or physical addresses. There may be a reason why somebody changed their bank account that the money's supposed to go on after they were approved. There may be a reason for all that, but when all of them come together, when they had each of these together, then it was imperative that something be changed immediately to address this. And that's where a lot of the whole codes came in. But that's what the problem was. Up front, the control environment just was not correct. I would say this. Initially, particularly the one concerning the changing of the account numbers to not your to like FinCEN type or financial the online type accounts, or blue dot, green dot type accounts after the fact. When we notified them of that, they moved to make that change almost immediately. Some of the others didn't come as quickly, but still they were still working on putting some of these holds in place so that we could get at the money.
Thank you. Go ahead.
We were able, along with SBA, I think we've pulled back a total of like 2.1 billion so far in terms of seizing money in these accounts and pulling them back.
I thank you for that, and I'll follow up with you more in written questions. I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Senator Martin.